President Erdoğan's reaction to Özgür Özel, Turkey owes an apology. President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan stated that inflation will start to decrease in the second half of the year and said, "It is our duty to solve the problems experienced by our employees and retirees," he said, criticizing the Republican People's Party (CHP) over the money-counting video investigation. President Erdoğan said, "There have been images of bundles of money, suitcases of money. Do you want dollars or euros? Nobody has the right to pollute Turkish politics this much," said. Reacting to CHP Chairman Özgür Özel, Erdoğan said, "The new chairman of CHP turned out to be a coup lover, just like his predecessor." And he laughs and talks about the virtues of the coup on television. Özgür Efendi owes an apology to Turkey. He said, 9 days before the local elections on March 31st. Election squares are hectic. President and AK Party Chairman Recep Tayyip Erdoğan spoke at his party's rallies held in Karabük and Kankırk. President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan's first stop was Karabük, reminding that Karabük supported the People's Alliance with more than 62% in the parliamentary elections and up to 64% in the presidency in the elections held last May. President Erdoğan thanked the citizens for their support. "It is our responsibility to solve the problems faced by our employees and pensioners. It is our duty to solve the problems experienced by our employees and retirees in particular. Those who do not have egg bags on their backs can rant as they wish," using the statement. Erdoğan continued as follows, "They know how to make promises in the squares and forget them when they take office. We, on the other hand, are responsible for doing something when we say it. For this, we will first complete all our preparations. Then we will come out and say our word. Otherwise, we will be no different from the others. You know the troubles our country has experienced in the last 10 years. All of them on top of that was the disaster of the century. The February 6th earthquakes. The additional bill brought by the earthquake to our economy is $104 billion. We transferred more than 1 trillion liras of resources to the earthquake zone this year alone. Our cities at risk, especially Istanbul, need to prepare for the earthquake quickly. Inflation will start to fall from the second half of the year. When inflation, which is the biggest problem facing us, begins to decline in the second half of the year, God willing, we will have a wider area of action for all of these. That's when we will more than compensate for the recent welfare losses by reflecting the country's opportunities to all segments of our nation, stating that they will achieve this by expanding Turkey 2 times in the coming period, just as they have grown Turkey 3 times in the last 21 years. Erdoğan noted that there is no problem that they cannot overcome by working with determination and patience, stating that they will celebrate March 31st as the holiday of national will before the Eid al-Fitr. Erdoğan said that election periods have meanings beyond being democracy festivals, where rulers are determined at all levels. If you ask them, they say we did not make an alliance, but they are nominating a joint municipal mayor candidate. Erdoğan noted that the elections are also a historical and national test that allows us to see who walks with whom and who stands where, stating that their policies are shaped in a transparent and virtuous manner within the framework of the unity of the nation, the integrity of the homeland, and the survival of the state. President Erdoğan continued as follows, "You remember the alliance that was formed against us last May, right? Where are they now? What happened to the table of 6? There is not one of them in the parliament. They are all gone. They put all the blame on Mr. Kemal, and now they are all enjoying themselves. They said table of 6, they said table of 16. And someone got under the table, and now they are brewing the tea of our Black Sea. What remains of this freak alliance? is a strange relationship with the secret partner of the table, DM, which they cannot name, and cannot come out to the nation and explain what they are. If you ask, they say we did not make an alliance. But in many places they put forward joint mayoral candidates, common municipal council member lists, and negotiate municipal bureaucracy. They brought the will of Dems base, which has no say, to the bargaining table with CHP, the current representative of one-party fascism. The price is still high. I hope we will see together what stink. What sharing of interests, what treacherous tactics will emerge from these unknown dirty deals? The judiciary is currently following them. Some signs have already begun to emerge. Erdoğan stated that the opposition does not care about the country's agenda and said, "The country's agenda is the earthquake. They do not care." They even show their true character by insulting the earthquake victims. The country's agenda is to clear our borders from terrorism, but they do not care. In fact, they will be registered as militants of the terrorist organization and undergo ideological training to benefit their partners. The country's agenda is to clear our borders from terrorism. Their agenda is to compensate for the loss of welfare of the employees, but they do not care. In fact, apart from the 3 or 5 abusive words they say, they are rubbing their hands thinking about the political profit they will get from this. Made his assessment. Investigation on money counting footage. Nitrogen monoxide one has the right to contain Turkish politics this much, stating that now images of piles of money and suitcases of money have emerged. Erdoğan said, "Do you want dollars or euros? Now we have them." No one has the right to pollute Turkish politics this much and to embarrass our people, especially those who vote for them. Look at where we have come from. Of course, this is why a face that knows how to blush, a face that knows how to be ashamed, we need a structure. We don't know if they fear God, but we need to stay away from those who have no shame towards people. This is not politics. There is nothing in the name of work or service anyway. Is there the slightest thing in Istanbul? I know every inch of Istanbul. I was born in Istanbul. I grew up there. I was the mayor there. Then the people of Istanbul took me and sent me to the Prime Minister's office. And then I became the president. On the contrary, they have put themselves in such a miserable situation that they boast of not doing any work and not having any projects. At least they accepted their faults, and if they could show the virtue of stepping aside. Unfortunately, they do not have that either.